Welcome everyone. Welcome to GitHub's Airflow journey, where we'll talk about how we grew Airflow from a single team tool to company-wide, platform involving the many teams in building their workflows. My name is Oleksandr Slynko. I work on data platform in GitHub for past 3.5 years. My pure programming Fluffy unfortunately can't be with me today. Someone has to monitor the cluster. So what's Airflow in GitHub? We have 1,000 DAGs, a little bit more than 1,000 DAGs, owned by 70 teams and 50,000 tasks per day. And it didn't happen like in 1 second. We run Airflow for 9 years, and there's a chance that someone in the audience might know more about the history than me, because maybe someone been there just for 3.5 years. And lots of things changed in these 9 years. Just some changes that were, I think, important for how we run Airflow and affected how we operated. And at this time, we had 18,000 pull requests, and open source Airflow had 37,000 pull requests, so we got just twice less, and I'd say we're a much smaller team, and it was an interesting journey for us, and I'll talk about 11 lessons, how we grew Airflow usage inside GitHub. And let's start from the beginning. So it started, I think, how it starts for every company. Someone needs something in data warehouse, and sometimes usual. And I think every decision in technology carries some risk. You probably heard several talks how some companies chose some tool. I think we chose Airflow from the beginning, and it was the right foundation because we are here talking about Airflow. And so we got Airflow, we got more and more data for analytics, and everything is critical because dashboards, and okay, let's just monitor all DAGs. Again, I think very common, and then something that you expect, some typical things that we have too many alerts, and code person have to check them. So we're okay, for good data platform, to make sure that all data is in warehouse, we just do some DAG failures, and that would be enough. And obviously, it's not the case. It sounds that everybody here knows that DAG monitoring is not enough. You have to monitor Airflow itself, because maybe something will get broken, schedule not running, pod not starting, and you just don't have DAG failures, but you also don't have DAG successes. Something stuck somewhere. So that's something that everybody learns. You need to monitor Airflow itself. And it was running nice and good, and management said, you need more data for analysis, much more data. I'm but we very small team, just, I think at the time was 7 people. Okay, let's just add more people. And it's almost work, except at this point we got requests for more and more DAGs. And at this point, we're okay, we have at least 2 months backlog just for building DAGs for teams. And it's very hard. And this was our first lesson that ETL is just too much for a single team. Starting from some size of the company, one team just can't handle ETL for the whole company. You need to force specialists, people who know the data, actually work on ingestion and transformation. And that's why we got self-serve for the teams. Give cake, share cake with the team. So this way they would somehow run the ETL process. And the first thing, we just give code owners rights. So just okay, have some teams own the code, slowly but steadily share it with different teams. And code owners doesn't always mean data owners. So code owners are people who can actually fix the DAGs, or if not fix, triage the issue and maybe redirect to us. And data owners might get involved if they need to fix something with data, but they don't need to know Airflow. So this was clear separation. And for us, code owners are people who review the code, merge the code, and if something fails, they fix the code. And there is one thing that happens in large companies, as far as I know, it's constant reorgs. So in GitHub, we got reorged many times. I think our team got moved from one part to another, I think 3 times when I was in the company. And that's constant. Yeah, teams renamed, split up, merged, something happens, and you don't want to lose this ownership. So we do two things. One is CI checks to make sure that when new DAG is created, it has valid owner. And second one is just DAG in Airflow that runs constantly and checks that all team owners actually valid teams. And if it's not valid, they will be saved to alert, and on-call person checks this in, fix it. So this way, when DAG fails with the data transformation, someone will be able to go and look at it and not just like it will disappear nowhere. So we have owners now. It's like next step. I'll just try DAGs, and okay, it's easy for people to the official website, follow best practices, what could go wrong. Unfortunately, it's like one minor thing that GitHub is not Python company. We are a Ruby company, okay, a little bit of Go, little bit of .NET, but totally not Python. So people just don't know Python. And at that time, before Copilot, it was hard for them to write the code. So they would do what everyone does. Just copy examples, copy someone else's code. So that's your job to provide examples. Because if you won't provide examples, they will copy it from somewhere else and use the feature that you want to have in these examples. So I think this is why we don't have task groups so widely, because we introduced task group in examples very late and people just copied DAGs without task groups. So make sure you update your test DAG and it's running in production so they can copy it. And also fix duplications. I think there was a talk last Airflow time, maybe one before, about how fixing duplication speeds up Airflow parsing and Airflow itself. So fix it, because if you won't fix it in example DAGs, it will spread out in the cluster. You'll have to fix it later. And finally, anti-lesson that's like sounded good at the time, creating custom DAG class that will have some defaults, have some callbacks. It kind of could have worked, but to upgrade to Airflow 3, you just need to run this ref command, ref after fix. And if you have custom DAG, this command doesn't work. So we have to go and fix each DAG, which is super annoying, 1,000 DAGs, even with like some automation. And also Copilot doesn't really like this custom DAG. It understands, but not always so. And speaking about ref, do linting and code format, because you want all the code to be formatted the same way. And not just ref, but SQL fluff. And one thing that we like is that format the SQL templates. It's all in the same format. And I think it's several times when people put parentheses in the wrong place and it just was wrong condition. So do it. And one more thing that we do is unit tests for DAG parameters. So we check what we do. We render all DAG in DAG backend CI and check required properties like, I know, max retries, schedule, whatever you want, owners the same way. So we check it in the DAG and make sure that they have all valid values, so people won't have to come to you why it's not working. It's enforced in CI, and they're like, CI tells you to fix it, so fix it. It's not us, it's CI. So now people have everything up and running, and you have to protect, and you have to provide them backfills. So something that I don't know, I won't be able to do backfill probably right now for custom DAG. Like from right now, I'll have to read documentation, and it's not fair to force people to read documentation about backfills. It's like, okay, you need to clear this DAG, or you need to do this stuff or that stuff. It's just a bit annoying. So provide tools for users to do backfills so they won't have to interact with API, just like simple backfill. Backfill this data, this DAG, from this data to that data. It should do all the required steps. So we had some Slack command, and now we have DAGs that runs basically the queues Airflow backfill and runs backfill on the other DAGs. It's much easier for users when they can just trigger DAGs that will do backfills of other DAGs. It's much cleaner for them, and they just know, okay, this is some parameters and it works. They need to worry about it. And now we have to protect users from some mistakes that we as data platform engineers can make, because we don't want to break everyone. So one thing that we done is create 2 DAGs, one that checks all our custom operators with some sample data. So it runs daily. So this way we know that, okay, our operators are working correctly. And if we update something or change something, they're still working. Or if they failing, we can revert and get to the previous condition. And if something fails for users, it's either edge case or then it's configuration, but it's like doesn't affect everyone else. It's very helpful when you change something, when you change the code, it's very helpful to check something. And also check the connections. So we have DAGs that basically go through almost all connections and run check that this connection is still valid. So you can just do .test connection if you want, but ideally you know your connections better. So for example, we have this analytical replicas of database, and compared to regular replicas, they have no timeout for queries. So what we do, we basically just run SQL command to sleep 1 minute. If it works, it's good. If it doesn't work, maybe we need to fix connection, or maybe we need to go to database team and ask them to fix replica configuration. It doesn't happen often. It's like happens maybe once half a year. Something breaks, like maybe someone add networking group or some misconfiguration happens, but it's so much easier to fix this before it affects the users. So it was like very reduced amount of stress for me when I was on call. When I saw this, came to database team, they fixed it, and I went to bed knowing that all DAGs will be running. So by doing just that, we increased number of PRs to our Airflow DAGs by 20%, and also by 100% we increased the number of issues, which is not as good, obviously. But if you look at this number closer, it's just 10% more issues for our team and 30% more DAGs. So it's basically new DAGs created, maybe something misconfigured, maybe like data was missing or something. People were still developing. So it's bad, but not terrible. Additionally, we didn't have now this 2 months backlog to write DAGs for other teams. So we could focus on operating Airflow and like running platform, and that's how platform was started. Just lie down, look, have some toy features that you're implementing, and hope everything works fine. Except there's one small problem: upgrades. People don't like upgrades. I like upgrades, and you can see we got kind of lucky in 1.8 to 1.9 that we done in a month, but it was 7 months and 9 months and 1 year long upgrade to 2.0. And additionally, it was one of my favorite incidents, basically 1 month long incident where we had to every day go and, do something with Airflow to keep it running DAGs, fix something, restart scheduler, poke sensors. I don't remember, there's so many things. It's took the whole month. Basically every day, several people make it up and running. So that was a very big lesson for us, and we learned a lot. So first of all, use open source knowledge. Don't have your own fork. Try to get much closer to open source Airflow. If you have issues, contribute to issues, contribute PRs. Don't just fork your code and add some workaround for you. It doesn't work well. I think you heard about it from different companies, how they struggle with upgrading from old versions because you have custom codes, it's very hard to upgrade. Then container image from open source, it works so well, we migrated to it. It's so much easier to upgrade everything, so much easier to create it. We don't need to think about our package version because open source people sort for us. And open source Helm chart, community Helm chart, it's amazing. Basically migrated to it, deleted almost all our custom Helm chart code, and it's so much easier, so much smoother running. So that was one of the big things to upgrade. And one more thing that it's kind of hard to run Airflow locally, and we thought it would be nice if there was some way to say that it works not only on my machine but on someone else's machine. If someone creates this technology that you can copy all the packages from one place to another place. And luckily for us, this Docker containers were created almost 15 years ago, and we can do the same with development environment. So GitHub code spaces, just it starts in the browser, or you can do it locally in dev containers. Airflow has setup for development and code spaces, so you can develop code. And for us, we have setup for development in code spaces as well, our Airflow DAG, so people don't have to worry about installing Python or these packages, don't have to worry about platform, because it's all in container, just running the same or almost the same thing as run in production, with a little bit more, with like a little bit of test packages. So people don't need to worry, they just run it, and if it runs there, it will run in production. Additionally, for upgrades, you can create several versions. So you can create version for current Airflow and for version you want to upgrade, and you can switch easily. You don't have to think about locals. Oh yeah, I need to upgrade this package and something won't work, and that's what happened before. So you work on the next version, like fix it for next version, have some bug, switch quickly to the old dev container, fix for the old dev container. So that was very helpful, both for us and for our customers. And then next thing that I have been asking so many people, how do you actually test your DAGs? And we don't have access from our local machine to production environment. I mean, maybe I can get some credentials, but only some credentials, because most of it is just connected. It can run only from that port. You can get to the storage account or to this, something. And I don't want to run it from a local machine or even from containers. So what we have is ephemeral dev environments. It's basically create small installation of Airflow and Kubernetes cluster that mostly accesses staging data, or with our approval, you can get access to production data, and it depends on what kind of operators you're testing. So for example, for some kind of ingestion, you just ingest a couple of rows to verify that columns are okay. For that transformation, it can read from some production data and write into the scratch tables for users, and you can easily verify it. And you're able to test maybe 80% of our operators in this dev environment, and it's life-saving for developers, regular developers, and for us data engineers. And one more thing, that for upgrades, you can deploy dev container in current version, and then deploy it in the next version, and easy run upgrade. So it's for initial stages of testing upgrade, you can just do it, 20 times a day, 100 times a day if you want to do it. And it works very easy. So we use lots of slide bets. So we just run this command. It will create this cluster. So it's deployment finished. It's available by this URL. I can access it and press the DAG and run most of the DAGs that are in production tested. So now when we have the ability to run dev, testing dev environment, we need to simplify CI. As I mentioned, we run Airflow for more than 9 years, and we start before actions we are seeing. So we migrate everything to actions, and one of the things that was, can we simplify actions to the point that in order to operate, you just need to change one string, maybe 2 strings with versions, and that's it. Don't change anything else. It wasn't the case before. So now we simplify the test setup this way. We can just, when we upgrade to the next version, we either parameterize pipeline or copy pipeline and change the versions. And this way, we know that it doesn't fail when someone works on the DAGs. So people are forced to write code that future-proof. So that's when you're preparing for upgrade, we know that no one will write accidentally DAGs that will break future version. Sometimes it feels obvious, but it's lessons that we learned in order to upgrade. And now with the simple CI, with ways to run tests in dev environment, ways to check your operators and connections, ways to check that everything works fine. The next thing that you can do to help yourself for future upgrade is upgrade packages, upgrade providers, to just constantly upgrading. Configure the Thunderbird and constantly upgrade package by package. Usually it's no. Sometimes you have to change a little bit in your code, or maybe checking infrastructure, especially with some cloud-specific things. Sometimes it's just some upgrades don't work that smoothly. But if you keep upgrading these providers and packages, it helps you with future upgrades. And how it works for us, we reduce time to major upgrade for 4 to 4 months. And it's not like just 4 months of active work, it's more like month and a half of active work, and then for 2.5 months we run it in dev environments. So first it's as optional, then it's by default you run next version, people learn about new features in UI and maybe like see some minor bugs and report for us to and help us fix them. We also reduced the number of issues by 20%. Same time, we increased number of PRs by 30% and keep increasing because it's much easier for people when they can test their changes. So they just test their DAGs and dev environment, and like not that many issues that actually happens due to misconfiguration. It's either people didn't want to test in dev environment, got a little bit lazy, or maybe some little things that like it just tries to get too much data and they need to split it up or do something. So what I want you to do when you come back from Summit, first of all, create DAG for testing your connections and operators, or take about a week, maybe less, but it will save you from these accidental changes, especially done by some other teams that will break you and you don't want to be woke up at night. Make sure that you have some kind of dev environment that you can test your changes, that can easily revert to production data, to production version. So this way, if you have to test, like, doesn't have to be a final, but when people have to test, they can easily roll up their changes and check their version and easily clean it up. And one more thing, fix deprecations, because make Airflow faster. And finally, contribute to Airflow, because that's why we are here, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about more things next time. Thank you. This is QR code for the slides.